Evan White. With so many strong ideas, he's creative to the core. Evan White, cause he's been at it for 20 whole years with plenty to show for his illustrious career. So if you're looking to grow your brand, then Evan White is here. Cause Talent Tech PR is sure to take you very far. The HR tech space has a fresh face, and it'll make your brand a star. Spinning straw into gold and taking flight, you'll be soaring through the sky at incredible heights with Talent Tech PR from Evan White.
My favorite song in the world.
Good morning, party people.
Shout out.
Welcome to the HR Morning Show, brought to you by Talent Tech PR. What's going on, Danielle? What's going on, Mike? Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good
Oh my
morning,
gosh, Brian has enough spark in his, from all his dogs, Sparky the dogs.
Yeah, okay, so
Cover all of us this morning.
So for those of you who are unaware, we are fostering 3 puppies. So just to let you know, if you think you hear a dog named Fleck, or you think you hear a dog named Dietz, or you think you hear a dog named Cookie, you are correct. You heard a puppy.
Oh, so sweet. I'm so excited for you. You're fostering. What a lovely thing to do for the world. I was actually thinking about fostering, but you actually pulled the trigger. So props to you. They are
I'd like to give a shout out to Bosley's Place. They're a neonatal puppy rescue here in Atlanta, Georgia, and Bosley's is they're where we adopted Cam, our puppy, from, and they're looking for people who want to be the forever home for different puppies who are in need of a forever home. So we got 3 coming your way. Maybe they'll show up later in the show. Who knows? Allie, if you're listening, bring the puppies upstairs. And and it's all good things.
We got our page. We got everyone working on the show, working behind the scenes very hard. Mike, what's going on? How you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. I'm excited to be here. I haven't been here in so long. I don't have the energy of Fink, but I'm excited. He brings it for all of us. That is okay.
Truly. Enough spark for everyone. And enough.
I have very flat
height
hair. Your
in
hair
his
is very
hair.
high today. Mine is. I showered before the show.
That's amazing. Well, just a reminder, in case you didn't hear Brian the first time, welcome to the HR Morning Show, the #1 spot for all things HR all morning. We are part of Purple Acorn, so head over to purpleacornnetwork.com. And thank you to our marquee sponsors, Talent Tech PR. Follow us on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, podcast every Tuesday, and you can also catch us live if you're here now. Congratulations, we're live. Keep following us on LinkedIn where we hit 2,200, so we're excited to keep on climbing the ranks. And I think I'm in a better mood than I have been all year because it is finally great weather in New York. Yesterday hit 71 and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. And you could bet everyone and their mother and their puppies were outside in Central Park walking around. Probably everyone took some time off work in the afternoon because it was just glorious outside. The best.
Fink is on mute, but we had the 70-degree weather here yesterday in Chicago as well. It was amazing. Everyone outside, kids get home from school and send them outside to play, and all the kids are out and outside playing and not fighting in the house, which is amazing. It's going to snow here this weekend, though. So real quick turnaround. It was fake spring, as we always get in March, but I won't be here. I'll be in Texas, so that's okay.
What are you doing in Texas?
It's South by Southwest this weekend.
Oh, am I the only person not going to South by Southwest on this broadcast?
You are the only one not going to South by Southwest of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
That's great. I'll stick with my puppies. I'll stick with
Atlanta's
the puppies.
close, right?
It's not a terrible thing. I might actually prefer the puppies. No, I'm kidding. I feel like I've been wanting to go to South by since I graduated college, and to be finally going and also hosting an event is really, really exciting. If anyone doesn't know, I'm hosting an intergenerational meetup. It's like basically people in the workplace world, but it's also open to anyone else. I think it's technically within the workplace track at South by, but I'm not exactly sure. But it's an intergenerational
Innovation.
meetup for everyone who, wants to take a break from the brand events, and get to know people of different ages and stages of life. You never know who you could meet. So that's on
Scott
Monday.
Galloway, Scott Galloway, Scott Galloway,
That's
Scott
on my
Galloway.
calendar. I'm excited for Danielle's meetup. My calendar is packed, but I've made sure to highlight the certain ones that I need to go to. That is there. Danielle told me before the show that I have a childlike aura to me, so I'm excited to go there and see what generation I really fit in with at this generational meetup. 'Cause I always
Yeah,
feel like as an elder millennial, or as they call us in the media, geriatric millennial. Uh,
that's so
I,
mean.
I've been on that verge of I'm a millennial, clearly to the core. I love expensive burger places, but like my book cover says, I business riz because I get in with Gen Z. I can complain with the best of Gen X, so we'll really see how I do with this meetup with my childlike aura.
I think you're gonna slay. So that's good. And then after South by, Mike, are you going to any other conferences?
I am taking a break. I'm not doing the big conferences this March.
That's totally fair. I'm doing the opposite. I'm going to Unleash straight from South by. So I'm flying on the 18th when Unleash starts into Vegas. And then I'm staying until after Transform, which I haven't officially announced yet, but announcement pending for everything. So I'm excited. If you're going to Unleash, Transform, hit us up, talk about it in the chat. We have some comments, so welcome to our listeners. Vanita said, woohoo, everyone was out. Yay, love the weather. And then we have Gregory, hello people, we just got a semi-dusting of snow a couple days ago. Oh, delicious. We love that. Well, I feel like every time I pass snow now, like the past 2 days, I'm like, oh wow, so ancient. Looking at the snow, it's like weird. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like an ex-boyfriend. It's like, why are you here? You're not welcome. But anyway, that's my contribution today.
Did you say
Like an ex-boyfriend, tune into the HR Morning Show.
So did you just drop you're going to be in Vegas for like 2 straight weeks? You're not going home in between?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I am going to be staying likely at the Westin by the lake in Vegas in between the two conferences. So for a couple days, I'm going to get out of the strip, go 40 minutes. I think it's east. And there's a lake, like who knew? And there's a gorgeous property there. And you can wake up to lake views. And no casino. I was like, thank God you don't have a casino because I wouldn't want to be there.
So Danielle, will you make me a promise that you will go and do the zip line that goes over Fremont Street?
I think I have to. I
Okay,
think I've
good.
seen enough people do it. And I also love Fremont Street. Like, I'm obsessed with Old Vegas. It is very cool. Feels like you're being transported to another time, which you literally are. I love it. So yeah, I think I will. But I'm going to need a partner in crime to do it with me. So.
Oh, okay. I wish I could be that partner in crime because there's nothing I like more than a zip line. I was
Maybe
talking
pause.
to maybe pause. Okay, all right. He's up for it. Living
But love a
dangerously.
zip line. Love a zip line. Oh, so fun.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think it's time for headlines.
Let's move to headlines.
Dun dun dun.
Going to look at the news today. We have 2 headlines that we're going to get into. They are related. Here's one everyone has been talking about this week, though, in a couple of different ways, and curious to hear everyone's thought. So AI is being blamed for job cuts in the U.S. We saw it with Block, is the kind of biggest name recently where they laid off 40%. Their statement specifically said it's for the future of AI. But the real story is probably more complicated. I have a lot of thoughts on this. We've seen the Anthropic study, or maybe we haven't, but for anyone who has, a study by Anthropic that showed the actual job replacement by AI being nowhere close to the projected job or the theoretical job replacement that could come in a lot of fields. Um, so I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to start somewhere else or start with anyone here. Um, we're seeing it right across Amazon, Block, all these companies. Uh,
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait
really,
a minute. We are not seeing it across all these companies, okay? Block is an outlier because it's run by somebody who has run two companies into the ground that they did not start, okay?
what I mean is we are seeing
Oh,
AI used as like the reasoning, right? The like
oh, the
we're
Yeah.
doing
whipping
this
boy.
for
I got
AI,
it.
we're
Got it.
replacing this with AI.
Scapegoat.
Yeah. So I'm saying, is AI actually replacing? I mean, are you actually seeing it replace anyone, or is it really just becoming the scapegoat and not doing what we think it is yet?
So there are a few different things that are taking place in the economy right now that I think are worth having a conversation about. Trending on Twitter this morning, or X, which was a company that Jack Dorsey owned and consequently couldn't manage, which was then sold to Elon Musk. Never mind, I'm not going to go ancient history. But a National Bureau of Economic Research survey of 6,000 executives in the US, UK, and Germany found that nearly 90% saw no effect on employment or productivity from AI over the past 3 years.
Hmm.
Who did
Um,
that study?
a National Bureau of Economic Research.
Wow.
In contrast, though, in contradiction, uh, Oxford Economics reported that commercially available robots will replace 20% of jobs in the US in the next 20 years, hitting transportation the hardest at 60%, followed by manufacturing at over 50%.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I think where it is, right, and all these are projections, right? And I think that's almost what the Anthropic study started to get to, is I think before we dive deep into this, it's probably, I think all of us are safe to say, the three of us, right? We're AI forward. This is an AI friendly show. We all use it in tons of ways. Um, but yeah, it's become this level of become talked about so much as what it's going to replace, what it's going to do, what it can do. And I don't think we've seen it, right? Even in this article with the initial headline, they called it's a bet that hasn't fully paid off yet. We're seeing all this expenditure, we're seeing all this sort of research, all this time, all these projections being based off of it, but I don't feel that it's actually saving the time or doing the work or doing these things yet for everybody. I think if you ask the 60% remaining of Block employees a few months down the road, they are not going to say AI took that 40% of the workload. They're going to say that they did. So I think it's curious where we sort of draw the line of like, how much are we planning for the future versus how much are we just kind of maybe lining some shareholder pockets by doing this now?
Mike, I also want to point out there was an article by Business Insider that suggested that employees at Block, that some of them received a 75% pay increase to stay at Block as opposed to leave because of the
Mm.
reduction in force, which almost makes me think about this, or which does make me think about this pay for performance model that's becoming so endemic across companies like Amazon and AWS, like XAI and other companies that are really trying to lean into providing that value, or I should say, the people who are working the hardest are extracting the most value and compensation from the equation.
Sure. And I mean, there is benefit, right? Obviously, a pay increase for anyone is good. A pay increase for people doing the most work is good as well. Um, but again, if the message coming from them is like, well, no, that's not what we're doing. We're just investing this into AI. We're replacing this work with AI to be more efficient. It becomes almost this just like story that's being told and sold to us by all these companies, of a world that anyone working at these companies, anyone working, I mean, we work. I know that AI isn't doing all these things that could just replace people there yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like it's like saying that electricity has no impact on productivity in the 1890s.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Uh,
but the use cases haven't exactly been figured out. Like it hasn't AI hasn't been fully proven to drastically improve everyone's productivity at every company. Like
True.
for most companies, they're still figuring out what the exact use cases are for how they're going to integrate AI at on a larger scale. And that's why things like introducing it on a team based way, and kind of scaling up and finding out which ways are the most effective to use it, and in which use cases. Like that's what's winning right now. That's the winning strategy, rather than the top down approach, which we've all seen time and time again. People are resistant. People, are like, well, why are we using this LLM versus that one? There's still so much to figure out. Where I'm more concerned, and there was an article that came out on this the other day, but we're not talking about it here, but I think is part of this, is the entry level jobs are being cut left and right. 2/5 of global leaders have reported that they have reduced the number of entry level roles that they're hiring for, which will then in 10, 15 years become a serious issue as far as who becomes senior leaders in the company, or even mid-level. And that's more what I'm really concerned about, that I don't see many people talking about at all in the public conversation.
No,
Yeah. Well, that's our next headline too. I mean, pull that one up here as well. I mean, the next headline even is that 1 in 5 companies have stopped hiring entry level workers because of AI.
Here it is.
And I do think that is the one area where we're seeing it the most. And you're right that I think maybe in public it's not being talked about, because in my mind I'm like, wait, we talk about this all the time, but then I remember like I yap about these things for a living. But yeah, I do think that it is going to lead to 10, 15 years of major problem where there isn't a mid-level employee. There isn't a senior level employee, right? Like we're seeing in a lot of industries, recruiting being a huge one. Fink, I think you and I even talked specifically about this, where like senior level employees basically got like squeezed out during layoffs and decided like, we're going to go do our own thing. Mid-level employees didn't really have the right training because they came into the industry at a time where if you had like a pulse, they were like, you're a recruiter, here's
the
$130.
COVID eclipse.
Nobody can hire quick enough. And they didn't get any real training. And all of a sudden they're the senior employees. And then there's like no junior level employees. And I do think we're going to see that spread across industries for sure.
And at the same time, somehow entry level went from you have 0 years of experience and we're willing to train you, to you have to have 1 to 5 years of experience or more to join a company, which is just like, when did that become the norm?
I don't know when that became the norm. I mean, that's actually what I was just thinking about, because, when I think of our industry, people in internal TA usually started as a recruiting coordinator, or you started in agency land as a researcher. And so much of that has been automated now. It's weird times, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, and then at the same time, Danielle, we tell people that who are entrepreneurial, that do their own thing for 3 to 5 years, as they're building that experience, as they're working that muscle, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot
Which
of
is
comments
which is
popping up on this
bogus.
topic, too.
It's bogus. It really is bogus, because I, for example, have someone in my life who he leads a team, and he does really, really complex finance stuff. And when I was talking to him about hiring, he's like, I'm always hiring, and I feel like I never have enough candidates. And I dug into that. I said, why? And he said, well, ideally, my candidate, and someone who I've noticed exceeds in this role, is someone who didn't study finance or software engineering, and who instead picked up that interest outside of school when they were 12 and decided to start coding and making things for themselves, and came to me as an eager person, ready and willing to learn. And I'd be willing to teach them from the ground up. And that's who I've seen succeed in this role. And I'm like, oh, But I feel like that's most of Gen Alpha right now. Like a lot of kids are on Roblox, they're building things, they're, experimenting with code. They're like doing the things that maybe I didn't do when I was younger. But yet you get to corporate and they're like, "Oh, but you never had a real job before, so why should I hire you?" It's like this complete erasure of any experience that's not corporate is not experience.
Yeah, like
Which
it's
I
not
think
on
is
your permanent
bullshit.
record. Like it's,
Like, do I
you
have to have it tattooed on my arm? Like, what?
right. Well, Danielle, you bring up an interesting juxtaposition because I think of the founders that I've worked with here in Atlanta. One in particular who was coding at age 12, dropped out of Georgia Tech in his freshman year to start a security company, and is now on his second startup, and he's already had one exit. Does that person have no experience?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the eyes of corporate, depending on, of course, I'm making a generalization, but like depending on who's hiring for the role, and who's in charge, right? Like some companies really do value that startup energy and hire people who have come from startups or who worked at startups or who sold them or who failed at a startup, because that's going to be the majority, right? But for the most part, what I've seen is if you don't have a big name on your resume, you're not worth looking at.
Having several big names on my resume, I totally understand that, and I understand the implication and bias that goes along with that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
I would say
remember.
it's, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I remember. No, this is years ago at this point, but like when I got laid off the first time was right when the tech layoffs were starting, late 2022, and I got laid off the week before Twitter did like their layoffs of half their staff, and Meta did layoffs of like their whole recruiting team. And there was one other big one. I think it was Stripe did like a bunch of layoffs. And I remember feeling that meme where there's like the drowning kid and like the other kid being like held by the parents, and then like the skeleton sitting at the bottom of the pool. And I absolutely remember it like feeling like that because it was just sort of like the bias with company names on there for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comments going on about this conversation.
Yeah.
We have fired some people up with some of this stuff.
Fired up.
Do you want to read some
Jeremy,
of them?
yeah, I mean, Jeremy agreed, right? What you were saying, like the reality is that these companies feel like they can live without as many people. Um, I think that's what a lot of these layoffs are, right? It is the idea of like it's the cost cutting. It's not that the work has been replaced. It's not that AI has come. It's just sort of, let's face it. I mean, Block tripled their staff or quadrupled their staff, whatever it was, coming out of COVID, like every tech company did. And then they were just like, never mind, we don't need that, and laid them off. And blaming AI works for you, and you get the whole um, pay or stock boost from it. And we saw it happen. It's all a
Yeah.
feeling that they can do without.
14% lift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a great point too, because from my perspective, I'm talking to the junior people who are recipients of a lot of these decisions. And they're like, oh, it's fine. I'm just expected to do the job of three people. We laid off two of them. One of them left because they were left with the job of three people. And now I just have to take care of it, I guess. Avoid a
Gregory
burnout.
Liverpool makes a comment. The system of recruitment in TA is broken with a bias on company and personality. Um, I hear a lot about recruiting being broken. I hear it just all the time. And I think we should have a program around that sometime in the near future. That's a topic we need to take up. We're going to share that with our producers and make sure that we have that conversation
Yes.
in the near future.
And also feel free to tune in on the Purple Acorn Network to Is This Still a Good Time? Where we talk about that plenty of time from the recruiting perspective of is it broken, what's going on. Plenty of great shows in this space on the Purple Acorn Network. Um,
Love.
okay, we can talk about these topics forever. We definitely can. The comments will keep going. But we have guests, and I think it's time to get this up.
Oh, good morning, friend. How are you?
What's up? How's it going?
Good. It is good to see you again. For those of you who don't know our guest and the great technology that they're putting to work to find candidates beyond the fold of LinkedIn, The floor is yours. Where are you calling in from? Who are you? What do you do? And why are you doing it here?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Bolun. I am calling from Austin today. I'm founder of CEO of Vamo, which is the second company that I started. It's a very simple concept. We scans the entirety of GitHub and uses real code and real work from engineers to help people identify those hidden talents, like the cracked engineers, right? Because Brian, I heard you on the call earlier, like you met this kid, 12 years old, no work experience, right? But have built the most incredible things. And these people sometimes are not on LinkedIn, especially the cracked engineers. They don't want to be on LinkedIn, right?
So about that, I know that you're going to be showing this technology, technology from Vamo at the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit. I've had the opportunity to see what you're doing and how this recruiting tool doesn't simply optimize for resumes or for a LinkedIn profile. It's really looking at, or I believe it's really looking at what somebody is doing and how they're building not just a portfolio, but building actual applications that work in real time.
Yep.
What's
100%.
the purpose? What's the purpose of somebody showing off their proof of work?
I think there's a few fold, right? I think some people, I'll give you an example for myself, right? I started my last company when I was 19 in college. Right?
Nice.
Freshman year at Duke. And I was an international student, right? And I was just doing this project. Like literally, I was just doing it because I love it. I like it's an interest of mine. It was Duolingo for financial literacy. And I just like love it so much. And next thing I know, it blew up during COVID, right? And so on and so forth. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think people have almost a different side of them that is not almost like on the verge of professional and personal that they're not really showing, right? On resume or on the professional network. And I think it's extremely valuable, right? For example, when we meet people through GitHub and we mention the work that they've done on GitHub, like in the email, right? It's like, we checked out this work that you've done. The response rate is almost 30%.
So wait, so let's back up for a second. Why GitHub specifically? And what signals are you finding out there that resumes consistently miss that you're able to put into these emails?
Yeah, I'll tell you, there are a couple of things, right? Number one, I think every startup at the end of the day is a GitHub repo, right? Every tech startup, right? Some of them are private, obviously, some of them are public. So I think GitHub, and by the way, has 160 million developers. Every single developers, serious developers, has to have a GitHub account, right? So they're all there, right? And there's, in innovative way, you can find every single developer's email, right, on GitHub, right? And you can see all their public work, everything. So it's just like an incredible database that GitHub has already collected for all of us, right? Number one. Number two, obviously the immediate thing people goes to is like the code quality. Oh, let's look at the code. Let's look at the contribution. But people forgot one very important thing on GitHub, which is the social signal. Who someone's like for example, if Elon Musk follows someone on GitHub, I don't care who that person is. There's something about that person we need to look into, right? If the founder of Linux, if he follows someone,
Linus Torvald, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if Mark Cuban follows someone, you probably are curious on Twitter, like who is this person, right? And it happens on GitHub. It's an even tighter community. And by the way, Brian, I'm non-technical as well, so like this is all very fascinating and new to me. I'm looking at it from a completely non-technical lens.
So about that technical lens, you've described a resume as being almost worthless in like the age of AI, slopification, and generated content. If that's true, and this is the new hiring signal, why can't people just the way that they fake a resume?
I mean, I think they can certainly fake it, but like I said, there's a social part of it too, right?
Okay, sure.
The social validation and the proof, and I think a lot of it is like the work from the past, and how do you verify that the work that you've done is actually good work, right? It's a lot of it is by the social element of it, right?
Absolutely.
Who
Absolutely.
started your project? Not just how many people started, but who are these people that started, right? And previously, without AI, obviously we have no way of like looking into every single person's look, like, you know. But with AI, we mass analyze like every single profile, right, on GitHub, and we know who's cracked. Like we know there's about 140,000 people that we consider are absolutely cracked in this world on GitHub, and you know, I think I'm just super excited to share those 140,000 people with the world.
So about those 184, those millions of people that are on GitHub,
Yeah.
when you and I talked and you did the demo, you said, "Hey, look, I even use this to hire my founding engineer."
Yep.
Can you tell us what that process looked like? Because that's an interesting traditional search that somebody else might have done a different way. But tell me a little bit about your process here.
100%. That's a really good question, actually. So as you know, what we do is scrape GitHub, right? We have a lot, like a really intense algorithm that has to go into GitHub, find every single profile, analyze them, so on and so forth. So I just ran a really simple search of people who have scraping experience, right? Since that was such a huge part, at least like in my head as a non-technical person, I'm like, seems like a huge part of it. I searched it up, and there's thousands of people who have done scraping projects by themselves on GitHub, right? So I just kind of looked at the algorithm, who are the most cracked, top 30. I just emailed 30 people. It's like, hey, I'm Bolun. I'm building this thing. We're trying to do this and this and this. It seems like you have already done something similar previously, right? With scraping, whatever. This person that we hired, he scraped the entire Reddit every single day. I think it was like 80 million posts every day. He was scrape it and then use it to analyze or whatever. And then he responded to me. You know what he responded? He was like, "I'm so glad like you complimented my work. Can you text me on Discord? Like I am more active on Discord." Right? I don't know if you know Discord.
I know Discord. I at the recruiting event that was in San Diego about a month and a half ago at the Talent Acquisition Week, I showed people how to scrape Discord and find channels there.
That's kind of the next step, like 100%. Like I went on there, I'm just like, oh my God, this is something else. But yeah, that's how I found him and did a work trial. Be like, hey, why don't you like try to show me what you could do, like scraping GitHub. Within 2 days, 48 hours, he's done pretty much the whole thing.
Love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like once you hire people who have already done it once with some context around things, like it's very translatable.
All right, so about translatable, if I can, you are 27 years old. You're a second-time founder. You're Forbes 30 under 30. You're super humble. Like, what do you do, or how do you recruit engineers that may have more experience than you to build the future of recruiting? I'm super interested in that.
Yeah, it's never been about experience to me, to be honest. It's like my experience is zero in terms of coding, right?
Right.
So from an engineering perspective, for me, that's why I built Vamo, because I literally back in the day had no idea how to pick who to bring on the team, right? To be completely honest, I actually met my last co-founder on Tinder.
What?
Yeah, no, I met.
Okay, I did my research, but I didn't find that. Go ahead. Tell us about that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
you met Zogo. You found your co-founder on Tinder.
Yes, Zogo, my co-founder, I met on Tinder because I was enrolled at Duke University, really great school, right? So I found I can't even tell you how many, maybe 7 or 8 different Duke University engineers at first to help me build the app. And all of them were like, oh, I think I can do it, but I'm like only front end. I think I need a back end person to help me. Or like, oh, I'm only back end. I think I might need a front end person. And then, a year went by, no one could build it for me. Duke University trained like super, went to like the like hardest class. So I was just super frustrated. So I just added, like, I went on Tinder because I was like, who knows what's gonna happen? I just put on looking for a developer on my Tinder.
Swipe right, yeah.
And then I met this guy called Simon. He is at the time 22 years old, never went to college. Actually, went to a community college in North Carolina, and dropped out. Was an immigrant, no degree, pedigree whatsoever in North Carolina, right? And we met up, and he showed me 3 apps that he's built before. Every single app went viral that he's built. And he sold all 3 of them, each for like around 200 grand. So like nothing crazy, but
Not crazy like you did with Zogo with 36 million, but
yeah. So like, it's like when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, we're done. You're my guy. You've already proven you could build an app that has millions of users. Can you do this as well? Zogo.
This really goes back to what Danielle was saying about those interests that you have and building your own applications and finding your own way. About finding your own way, you're going to find your way to here in Atlanta, where I sit for the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit.
Yeah,
Bolun, we're excited. I'm excited that I'm going to get to meet you in person. Like I said, we've already had a conversation about this epic application or platform. Really, what are you looking forward to bringing to the community and having that conversation with the community about Vamo?
I think, first of all, I'm non-technical and not a recruiter, right? Like, I don't have any recruiting background whatsoever. So I really hope I can maybe bring like a founder's lens, like, to the conference, to Atlanta, and share at least how I think of this, like how I think talents are going. And hopefully it's a fresh perspective. I almost don't see Vamo as a recruiting tool. Like I just see it as like a different way of looking at someone. That previously, Brian, you and I look at a GitHub, we're like, what the fuck? Like, what is on this GitHub, right? Like, no clue. But something like the reverse of like Lovable and Cloud Code, right? Versus you're typing to generate code. Now you're looking at code to understand
Right. Yeah.
what's been done, right? So yeah, I'm in general like just very excited to be there and meet everyone. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Bolun, I look forward to meeting you in person. I hope that you will have the most epic time in Austin. I assume you're there for South by?
Yep.
All right. So you're going to want to come by and hang out with Danielle. She's hosting, she's speaking, she's hosting a conversation. I encourage you guys to get together. She's great people. Take her for ice cream. Take her for ice cream. Okay, I'm just saying.
Awesome.
Well, Bolun, thank you. I will see you at ERE's Recruiting Innovation Summit in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much. Talk to you later.
Welcome to the HR Morning Show, Matt. So happy to have you. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Great
Good.
conversation.
Good, thank you. I'm so excited to chat with you. I know that you're heading to Unleash in a week, so excited to see you there as well. I love these, virtual to IRL situations. It's very fun for me. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit more about what you do and who you are and what you do best?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, my name is Madge, and I'm the co founder and CEO of a company called Blair Health. We are solving one of the biggest problems in our healthcare system, which is access to specialists, specifically for women. So, women wait a very long time to see specialists. And the reason behind that is that primary care providers and family doctors receive very little to no education in women's health. So we're a story about AI leveraged right. And what we do is we create our own proprietary clinical LLMs that can take specialist knowledge and put it in the hands of generalists. And then you're able, as a patient, to connect right away with one of our providers on the platform and receive care very quickly. And we have sort of centered the company in terms of the areas of coverage that we offer around things that take women out of the workforce. So we work directly with employers to make sure that we have benefits and health benefits and clinical benefits to their employees that allow them to get that specialist level access right away without waiting. And then we solve the health problem at the first point of contact. So that's what we've built.
Wow, that is truly incredible. And personally, I definitely connect to the mission and the vision because I am a young woman who actively thinks about, oh, what if I, want to have kids in a couple of years? What will that look like for me or my friends' careers? And what might it look like to have, hormonal support in the future or now? So I love what you're doing. Can you explain a little bit more about where are you based, by the way?
So we're based in Toronto, and then
Okay.
also New York. So we're fully live in Canada as well as the United States.
Okay. So I would assume that there is a little bit of a difference in terms of the healthcare systems in Canada versus the US. And can you explain what the actual opportunity is that you're really pursuing and why there's such an access gap in either country and what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, the access problem really starts in medical school and medical school training. So you look at conditions like perimenopause and menopause, and you look at other conditions like urology. Um, in Canada, it takes a very, very long time to see somebody for urology and menopause and perimenopause care. In fact, the wait could be longer than 1 year.
Wow.
And in the US, those same structural problems also exist despite having a private healthcare system. So in Canada, we have a publicly funded healthcare system with the idea that everybody should have access. The challenge is effectively a supply and demand issue, where in the US, there's only one specialist for every 32,000 women for things like mature women's health.
Yeah.
And that's a structural health problem. And how other companies have tried to solve this is just by simply having a telemedicine or like a virtual platform. The virtual platform allows you to connect with somebody right away in a more convenient way, but it does not solve for the core issue, which is that sort of knowledge gap on the provider side. And that's effectively what we're solving at Blair Health, is that we have basically built super technology where you're able to get specialist level care with us right away. So, for example, if you look at our perimenopause or menopause model, women wait. Even if they're not waiting a long time to see somebody, they might go in and talk to their primary care provider. The challenge is that that primary care provider has received little to no education in menopause, so they end up referring them. And then it takes on average 5 visits before you get to somebody that can really help you. On the employer side, what that does is that it's driving up the cost of health insurance, right? Whereas if they come to Blair, we have that specialist knowledge in-house. We're able to instantly give them a diagnosis of the stage of menopause or perimenopause that they are in. We are able to give them a personalized treatment plan and then do the full prescribing. So they see somebody with us right away. And how that impacts them in the workplace is that, they're not suffering with symptoms like, brain fog or trouble sleeping for a very long time. And then employers see the impact in productivity um, much, much faster with us.
Right, right. So productivity is definitely one thing that this will help. What is can you tell me a bit more about like the real gap here in terms or the real need? Like what are you hearing from women? What is because I've definitely heard the conversation about perimenopause and menopause up the wazoo. Like I've heard it more in the past year than I think I've ever heard in
Yeah.
my life. And obviously I'm not in that stage of life yet, but I think it's great that we're having this public conversation out loud. But can you tell me more about that kind of public discourse and more about what really inspires you to keep on working on this problem every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we see from our perspective is that this is a structural problem with our healthcare system. So, what really inspires us isn't a specific condition. So, menopause is having a moment, and it was the first use case for us that we've really built around. The reason is because menopause care is very nuanced. So, that's sort of a use case where standardizing that clinical care and then personalizing it can really sort of prove out the need for us, but our vision is much bigger and sort of much grander than that. The way that we think of ourselves is that any condition that one takes the woman out of the workforce, whether it's having a baby, whether it's like bladder condition, whether it's perimenopause or menopause, we are able to deliver that exceptional clinical care for any use case where the diagnosis and the treatment is largely based on clinical observation, right? So that's what we've built at Blair Health, and the other aspect of it is access to information. So you bring up a great example, right? Everybody is talking about perimenopause and menopause, but there's almost this too much information out there. And what we have done is that we have put that clinical valid information in the hands of customers. So what we do in our app is um, we offer you access to educational material that's like personalized to the stage of life that you are in. So if you're somebody who's not in menopause, for example, you're going to see a lot of information about the stage of life that you are in. Maybe it's like preparing for the next stage of your fertility journey. Maybe it is lifestyle changes that you could be making. So we take all of that information and then we also put it in an app. And what we find is that access problem is a supply and demand problem with providers. But then the other aspect of it is putting the right information in the hands of our patients and also in the employee pool that we work with. Because when you have valid information, when you have clinically valid information, you're more likely to seek out help when you need it. You're more likely to know, hey, those are the screens for something changing in my body. Um, and then through our virtual platform, you're able to connect with somebody right away.
That's so amazing. I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I am curious, I'm not at that stage in my life, as I've said, but I also struggle with, hormonal condition. I have PCOS and I have a lot of friends who have suffered from similar things or some even worse. I'm curious, what does the next couple of years look like in terms of the challenges and the conditions that you're focusing on and expanding to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And PCOS is a great candidate for what we do. So that's definitely something that's on the radar.
Love
And it,
that.
it starts with having access to the right information. But also, what we do is we build all of those assessments that can give you a diagnosis right away. So, like, we're taking that thinking that we started off with one vertical, which was menopause, and like we're expanding it into other areas. The second area that we built in was urology. And the idea with urology is like it's something that impacts women at different stages in life. So, for example, the postpartum period. So, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and like your body really changes after you have a baby. And those bladder conditions are things that really impact the quality of your life. So, for example, going to the bathroom or like waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. Those are all things that we can diagnose right away. So, we built that instant diagnosis model to urology where we can instantly diagnose you with 7 of the most common bladder conditions. And then you're able to see somebody that can give you specialist level care right away with full prescribing authority. So we're sort of making our way through those conditions with really the focus on the conditions that take women out of the workforce. And then the other bucket I would say is conditions that take women out of the face of earth. So think of something like cardiovascular disease. You only see a
Oh, wow.
cardiologist when you've had a heart attack, but that is a medical vertical where the bulk of it is preventative. The bulk of it is being able to look at your lifestyle, being able to look at the things that sort of lead up to having something like a heart attack, and being able to sort of take care of them before they happen. So it's like this idea of preventative medicine. And the way that we think about our company is that we have the ability to leverage technology, especially in the world of AI, to be able to really build preventative programs, put them in the hands of women, but from a workplace perspective, really be able to take care of people before they get very sick. before it's truly, too late. And then technology has that ability to take that experience above and beyond, meeting with a doctor and being able to like put it in the hands of patients in the form of tracking, in the form of clinical information that's actually giving you a true pulse on your health. And then ultimately, from an employer perspective, keeping the workforce engaged, but also lowering those costs of when something really big happens for your insurance plans. That's when you typically see those like spikes in insurance costs because employers are truly trying to have the best plans out there. And what they're finding from our conversations is that spending more money on insurance plan i- isn't really what's getting the results. So
Yeah.
there's that sort of
Doesn't make
cost in
people
mind.
healthier.
It does not make people healthier. Yeah. So that's a broader problem that we're trying to solve with Blair Health.
It's amazing. I'm a big fan, and I think the next generation you will find often is a big fan of preventative health. So I'm excited to see more companies like yours really tackle this challenge for people at all ages and stages of life, but especially for women. So thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find out more about Blair Health and what you do?
Yeah, so we're going to be at Unleash, so we're excited to meet people there and meet in real life. But you can find us at blairhealth.com. So if you're an employer looking for solutions to reduce your insurance cost and have a point solution, a clinical solution that can help women, we'd love to have a conversation and walk you through a demo of what we offer. And then if you're a patient looking for help with urology, perimenopause, and clinical nutrition, then you can find us on blairhealth.com and you're able to complete our assessment right away. We'll give you an instant diagnosis. And then you'll be able to see a provider with full prescribing authority on the platform right away.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Madge, for joining us. I will find you at Unleash, and we'll meet in person and make it official. Love that.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to meeting you
Yeah.
in person.
Thanks for joining. All right.
Look at me like an amateur. Look at me like an amateur on my mute. What great conversations, though. And I'm really excited to thank our sponsor again, Talent Tech PR and Evan White. Evan is amazing. If you've never worked with Evan, you absolutely should. Everything from media to event management to things that are going to get people talking about you at events. You can find him walking around at so many of these Transform and Unleash and great conferences, and putting the Purple Acorn Network shows together. So check out talenttechpr.com for more info. And thank you again for the sponsor. Now let's get to the weather report with Serge.
Good morning, beautiful people. Today on the weather, let's talk about resume slop. So every hiring manager I'm talking to is telling me they're not even reading resumes anymore. Why is that? Because AI has made it incredibly easy for candidates to create really perfect looking resumes and cover letters in seconds. And the results of that, a massive storm of applications that all look exactly the same. Talking to recruiters as well, they're telling me exactly the same thing. They're seeing thousands of polished resumes that just look exactly the same, but many of them don't actually prove whether they can do the job. And I think that's the most critical thing. So companies are starting to change the forecast. Instead of relying on resumes, some employers are now asking candidates to complete skills tests, submit portfolio work, or even do short paid work trials. I've even seen non paid work trials, which I'm against. In other words, the hiring climate is shifting from tell me what you have done to show me what you can do. Now, for the HR leaders on this show, it raises a big question: Is AI help? If AI is helping everyone with the write the same resume, then the resume itself may be losing its power. So the forecast for recruiting is especially job seekers, expect more real world assessments and a growing focus on proof over polish. Perfectly written resumes just don't mean anything anymore. It might come from actually showing your actual work, which kind of sucks, but I think it's the reality moving forward. That's your HR weather report. Let's get back to the studio. All right, guys. I
Oh
don't know.
wow, it's Serge live. I
Yeah,
thought it was a video.
no, I'm live. I'm here. I'm
Hi,
here.
Serge. The
Um,
millennial pause that
yeah,
you did before you started talking was golden.
it
I
was
loved
it.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I'm actually a Gen X,
Okay.
so kind of millennial. Like
You
I'm right
could
on the
still do
cusp.
a millennial pause. This is Gen X.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I would love to hear Mike's thoughts on this because he seems really fired up.
I'm
Yeah.
fired up about this topic. I love that everyone's talking about this topic. I went viral on every social media platform a couple weeks ago posting about this. Honestly, I saw the article on Business Insider and I think they were inspired by me without any credit. But that is okay and a
Well,
different
it
topic.
inspired me.
Yeah. But you know what? Lots of people talk about the same topics. I can't own everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I talked about this a few weeks ago that the resume is dying, and AI is a big part in killing it. And this is really important because I know there's if Gregory's still in the comments, I talked to you a lot about this on LinkedIn and comments and job seekers in general. This is not about a competition. This is not about what side deals with more AI garbage or AI slop.
Yeah.
Right, like both sides need to be better. Um, but when every resume comes in, I'll tell you I'm actively recruiting and I open up a job and I get 400 resumes for it and they all look the exact same within an hour. It becomes useless.
Yeah.
And I cannot talk to all 400. That's not realistic. Um, there's no fair way to kind of decide it. So I do think that the future, and I've been saying for a long time, needs to be more things. When I was director of talent at Teal, we did implement paid work trials. I agree with you, no unpaid work trials, but projects that were paid and really saw work. I think applications should be more in depth, and I know people don't like that idea, but I also hear job seekers saying we need a chance. We need a chance to stand out from the resume. Like this is the chance. Some companies do this really well. Zapier, Ashby both do it really well, like very detailed questions on their applications. But I'll tell you, I have an application out right now for a product manager. And product managers are hard to hire because there's so
Yeah.
many, and there's so many types of product. And I have a question on there that's like very specific, and it says on the question like, I've asked this question. I promise you, I read every answer. I weigh heavily into these answers. It is a way to really help you stand out. I'd say 30% of the answers still say like NA or C resume, or I'll tell you in an interview. So it is funny sometimes. It's like you give them the opportunities, and like people still want to take it, and I get the frustrations. But yeah, we are hitting a head where job seekers and recruiters and hiring managers are just sort of like battling, and nobody can agree on the right way to do it. But I agree, resumes are becoming pointless.
So what's the solution here? I've heard a lot of companies are doing AI interviews. So basically interviewing the 400 resumes they got through like a single link, and it's giving a lot of people opportunities to get an interview that they wouldn't in the past. But I still kind of feel icky about it as far as like having an AI interviewer judge what I'm doing. But it seems to be what a lot of business are leveraging to kind of get over this. Like, what's your thoughts on it, Brian? Like AI interviews?
Uh, my thought on AI interviews is that I'm not hip with them,
No.
right? Like, I've seen some technology that does it really, really well, and I've seen some technology that does pretty poorly. And I think
Mm.
that Kyle Lagunas put out a pretty interesting piece of research about 2 weeks ago pertaining exactly to this idea. Video interviewing, I don't think that it solves the great problem that candidates are suffering through, which is an abysmal candidate experience. It's being exacerbated by artificial resumes. It's being exacerbated by artificial interviewers. This is a time when the solution to all this could be outbound recruiting, otherwise known as sourcing. But we've done a good job of killing that function as well. So I don't know that I have a solution.
What's your
That's
thoughts,
crazy.
Danielle?
Yeah, I think I would agree that the candidate experience is abysmal, and I also am seeing people who are hiring for roles go out and source their own candidates because they're very much underwhelmed by the candidates that are being pulled for them by talent teams. And I would also say I'd love to see, I love the job trial, the project based, that kind of thing. I love that. I've always been a fan of that and definitely paid. I would also put my money that IRL interviewing and recruiting is going to make a comeback, and not in the typical way that, oh, like let's have a super day or whatever. Maybe it's a super day, but I think it's going to be more companies are going to have IRL activations for their the roles that they're recruiting for, or just like, I'll give you an example. A lot of companies are betting their money on community first growth. And so, for example, there's a company, the Lighthouse. It's very much in the creative space, but they just opened a creative studio in Brooklyn. And I'm pretty sure that the way that they hired the people that that are now on the team, and the way that they vetted them, was they actually invited them in person to an event, and they said, hey, like, great meeting you in person. And then it's like, I think the people and the candidates who are able to talk about their work and actually share compelling stories that showcase their skills are the ones that are going to stand out. Not only do you have the experience, but you can also talk about it. And I think that storytelling element has never been more important than it is now, as far as like any job function, because so much is being automated that isn't about storytelling. So I think that's going to be a big way that people get hired. And I'm already seeing it.
Oh, I agree. I think this is the death of job boards, and even seeing company career pages, they're disappearing. They're not posting jobs on career pages because they're just getting inundated with thousands of resumes. So community type hiring, events, those type of things, I definitely think is the future. I think part of the challenge too is AI is taking over when it comes to resumes. A lot of companies are leveraging AI to go through those resumes. On top of that, our labor economy is not looking good out there. There's a lot of people looking for jobs, and I expect it to get even worse. So it feels like the whole system needs to collapse within itself. And to Brian's point, like, if I would love to own a staffing firm right now, because I think companies are completely open to going to staffing firms, because just the amount of time that's sucked up in going through thousands of resumes, trying to figure out
Mhm.
where to post a job. All the candidates look the same. Like, I think the whole industry needs to implode for it to be fixed.
So I just want to remind everybody that private employers do not have to post a job. But if you're a federal contractor or
True, good
companies
point.
with specific affirmative action plans, you do have to post, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that the only thing that a posting does is really create false hope and false opportunity. I'd also point to the fact that Indeed has seen a reduction in the number of software developer posts that are out on Indeed, but at the same time, the hiring for software engineers has spiked as we retreat from that AI only environment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think the job boards are dead. I think that's a conversation for us to have on another show. We're coming up with a lot of topics here today.
Yeah, I was taking notes. Turns out there's a lot going on in the industry. But yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, I mean, it's hard because you want to post the jobs because you want people who are looking and be able to
Yeah.
apply. But yeah, it's the speed of it and how much you get buried. And most talent teams are down to skeleton crews, right? Most companies are like one recruiter doing this stuff and like completely overwhelmed, and it slows the process down. It mucks it up. it's hard. I mentioned like I'm hiring for this product manager. It's like, how many interviews can I realistically do? I want to look through our applicants. I also want to be able to go find people from like certain companies that might be being kind of targeted, and how much time does one person have to do all of that? And I don't think people think about that side a lot. And this is, again, not to plug, is this still a good time? But this is what we talk about, like as recruiters, like, is this still a good time? And this is a huge part of it on the Purple Acorn Network. We had Kyle Lagunas on the episode that's out today to talk about this report that he found and kind of go through. So if you want to hear it in more depth, there's another spot. But yeah, I don't know the solution. You're right. It does feel like a collapse. It does feel like people kept asking when I posted this, like, well, what's the solution? I'm like, I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't know
smart
either.
enough to figure out the solution, right? Like, I have ideas, tougher applications with questions and like some paid work and portfolios. And I do think all those things are ideas, but they're not to turn it on today and everything's fixed, because there's still thousands of job seekers out there sending resumes to jobs, being mixed with all the fake candidates that are coming. I mean, I did a fraud candidate interview yesterday. Usually I'm pretty good at catching the resumes
Wow.
and knowing, but I got one that was very clearly a fake candidate. Like, once I got them on, very clearly like reading from AI. And even though I already knew, at one point when I tried to wrap up quickly, they ended the interview. I like ended very abruptly. And I was just like, great, so you should hear from me in a day or so. Because I never want to call it out as fake, because I'm not trying to like get into like a battle or a fight about it. But I'm like, oh, you should hear from me within a day. And they were just like, okay, hold on. And they're like looking at the screen, and then they say, and they're like making end of interview conversation. I was like, oh, you definitely just read
Oh
like
my
what the
God.
AI was feeding back to you about what was happening right
Oh
now.
my
And it's just like,
God.
the whole thing's a mess. It's a mess for job seekers and recruiters.
Yes. Well, I agree. And fraud candidates is very interesting because there's not only fraud candidates, but going through the whole job advertising ecosystem, I don't think companies realize how much fraud is involved in there, because most companies are paying for candidates on a cost per click or cost per applicant model.
Mhm.
It's just ripe with fraud. Companies in the industry that are sending fraud candidates through so they can get paid, they're not real candidates. This is happening across the board. And one interesting
Yikes.
point I'll leave you guys on is, if you look at how many resumes are coming in and companies are leveraging AI tools to try to go through, there is not a lot of human connection there, because I was just looking in my city. It's a city of around 2 million people, and there was 3 recruiter job openings in a city of 3 million, with the second most headquarters in Canada, which is scary. Like, recruiter jobs are struggling out there, and companies are trying to leverage AI to combat AI,
Serge,
and it's
Serge,
not working.
I think you got the wrong read on that, my man. Is that
You tell me.
well? I mean, so here's the thing: is that I know from a friend of mine who is hiring for a well-known brand here in Atlanta, and they're using Ashby as their ATS. That they
Yep.
posted a job for a recruiter, and they got 1,800 applicants in 3 days. Right? I don't think that I think that it's going back to the way we started the conversation. Is I think they're still hiring. I just don't think they're posting for the job. I don't know about the laws in Canada. I
That's
mean,
fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
People are hiring
That's
recruiters. They're
fair. But
scared
you
to
think
post
about
about
it.
it. Yeah. And they're doing
Yeah,
contract, and they're
you
doing
are right. And
contracting.
that's scary. That's scary, that 1,800 applicants for a recruiter job. And if you think about 2021, LinkedIn numbers when it came to recruiter job posting was 400,000, which was by far the most sought out role. Now, I haven't looked at it recently, but I'm assuming it's extremely low across the board. But
That's crazy.
nonetheless, until the whole industry collapses within itself,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
I
We don't
think
want the whole industry to collapse. I mean, like, I know I'm the
not
big
yet.
person who's like, let it all burn. Okay. Like, I'm
No,
Tyler
I
Durden
am. I
of
want it.
recruiting. I get that. But like, I'm not ready for it to all fall apart tomorrow.
Oh, I am. I want
I
the
think it's
phoenix
falling
to
apart.
rise from the ashes of this industry to something way better. It's not going to happen, Brian,
He's
but
being
What is,
existential.
what was Dumbledore's Phoenix's name? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
What?
I
I was like, I'm going to say something just as random as what Serge said. But
No, I would put my money, yeah, here's where I would put my money in recruiting, is in person connection. It doesn't even mean you have to apply to a job and get through the system in order to be considered for a position. It's go to company events, that they're hosting. JustWorks does 1,000,001 events. Like, you could find the companies that are doing events. They're loud about it if they're smart. Or go to conferences. Go to their events and be able to talk about what you do. Reach out to the people you think are hiring or that are listed on roles and literally send them like a deck about why you'd be great in this role and outline it for them. The other one that I've seen work is pitch contracting roles versus a W-2, because a lot of those hiring managers are open to the idea of a contractor over someone that they have to oversee all the time, because that contractor might actually have more years of experience and be able to get them at, of course, maybe a higher hourly rate, but overall it'll cost the company less to hire a contractor than a full-time employee. I've seen that work as well.
I get that, but also let's think about America, and healthcare is tied to your job.
For sure.
Like we talked before, and
For
that
sure.
can be very challenging for
But
folks
if
with
you're
families,
you're
right?
between jobs and you're so desperate to make money and put food on the table, I mean, like, that's like, at least you get some experience and get some cash at the same time.
Yeah, all really good points. I agree. I think if you can put yourself in a position that people know you by going to events, I always say create content as well. Like, people see you on LinkedIn.
Serge,
Like,
speaking my language.
I know,
Well,
I have not applied a job in the last 15 years. I've got all my jobs from either referrals or people that knew me from LinkedIn or events or things like that have reached out to myself, or guests that I've had on my podcast. I've been hired my last 3 jobs by guests that I've had on my podcast.
Pop off
So
king.
I think it works.
Serge, I want to double click on that real quick. Is that something that Danielle and Mike both said about telling a story? And you say producing content and producing videos. I think that's great. But it goes back to what Danielle said, is if you've done a project or you've done something, go in and be able to explain what you did, be able to take criticism on what you did, share that. I think, I'd like to see the STAR method of interviewing burn, because I don't think that it does storytelling very well.
A STAR or behavioral based interviewing, I think I want it to disappear. But anyways, that's the weather, guys. So keep on with the show.
It's a lot of weather.
That's a lot of weather.
All right. Well, what a fantastic show. We
had
spoke
some hot
about
topics today.
so much. We really did cover a lot of ground. We have some great comments I want to highlight as well. We have Kelly. She comments on literally every LinkedIn post. So shout out to you, Kelly. She said, important conversation, the intersection of AI investment, hiring strategy, and long-term talent development deserves serious attention. So for a future episode, we will continue to talk about that. We have Vanita gave a lot of context, and she talked about when she was laid off, she helped her son create a sports card bookmark business, and those skills she learned from product creation, marketing, customer service, and sales were something she never learned in corporate. And she also has a podcast called Laid Off to Lift Off. Love that.
Nice.
What else? We have Brian Rocks. I recognize him. Most of my skills have been developed in a self-directed manner outside of professional or academic experience. So I would say, yeah, these topics were hot, got people fired up. Thank you for, chiming in the comments. We love the conversation, and I'm excited to revisit some of these. I mean, I don't think many of the problems that we touched on today are going away anytime soon. I think it's great to have different perspectives. So Mike, thanks for joining. And Brian, of course, you're amazing. Jeremy just piped in. I'm not in sales. If you are analysts who actually want to see under the hood on how good AI interviewing actually works, let me know. Oh, Jeremy.
Let me know. If you want
Those
to
AI interviews,
let me know.
He's saying those AI interviews do get good reviews, and he's right. I've seen that over and over. And people, as much as everyone says I won't do it, I don't like it, they're not good. Like, candidate experience on those has routinely come in scoring higher than like against human interviews. So
Right.
there is something there. One thing I want to add, and not to make the show go longer, so nobody's allowed to respond or dig in on it. But I want to say, if people listen, because we're talking about all these topics and we'll expand on it. Nobody has ever dealt with any of this stuff before. And I think that's sort of like what's interesting. We would deal with, I was like AI resume slop, AI interviews, having to like figure out how to mix AI investment into these things. Not a CEO, not the smartest person, like not anyone has ever had to deal with this, like sort of like overtaking the workforce like this before. So that's why a lot of it, I think, that people feel so like all over the place and sloppy and like messy and not being handled right. Cause like, who are we learning from on this? Like, we're all figuring it out. I think
Right.
it's important to remember with this stuff.
That's a great point. Well, keep on keeping on, everyone. And whether you're a candidate or you are a hiring manager or talent acquisition professional, I wish you luck, truly. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the HR Morning Show. Thank you again to Talent Tech PR and calendarpa.com. Go check them out. Keep following us on LinkedIn. We want to get to 3,000 at some point. And if you want to see more Purple Acorn, head over to purpleacornnetwork.com. And you can find us as podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts, like Spotify, Apple, etc. So hope you guys all have a great week, and gals, and see you back here next week.
Or in real life.
Or in real life. Even better. All right.
Everybody.
Bye.